Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for What's Your Cybersecurity IQ? We are going to highlight some basic security topics and share ways that you can protect yourself online. So grab a pen and something to write on and get ready to answer a few questions and test your cybersecurity IQ. My name is Katie McInerney, and I'm the training coordinator with the Office of Information Technology. I help coordinate requests for technology training on campus and help coordinate other events related to technology topics. I also help lead Google workshops as well as sessions on basic cybersecurity issues as well. We also have a few special guests joining us today for this HOA. Don Schmidt is another one of our trainers. Many of you may know of him. He is our Google guru when it comes to all things Google here at NC State. So hopefully if you haven't been able to join him in one of his Gmail or calendar sessions or one of the many other Google tools he teaches, you'll be able to sign up for one of his sessions soon. Louise Flynn is also joining us today. She is another trainer in our training department and will be our moderator today. So she will be keeping her eye on questions that may be submitted throughout the presentation. She also has a wonderful design sense and wears a designer hat on a regular basis for our team. For today's agenda, here's a very brief overview of what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about some basics when it comes to Hangouts on Air, so you'll know how to navigate the platform from the user end. We'll also cover the basics of cybersecurity, talk about what that means and how it impacts you as an end user. We'll cover a few quiz questions. There are 10 questions that we will be highlighting and then explaining a little bit more how that impacts you. We will also have time for Q&A at the end. We'll wrap up with additional resources and upcoming workshops. A very brief overview regarding the HOA interface. There is a section for showcase materials, which will provide supplemental links to other resources that can assist you with the topics that we're covering today. In order to access, just hover over the top right-hand section of your screen and click on the grid, and then choose Showcase. Once you click on the Showcase icon, it will bring up and display another column on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can click on and access any other links. Right now you should see a link to the Google Services Google Plus page that we hope you are following. If not, please circle up with us and receive notifications. We post events and tips and tricks and new functionality when it comes to Google and how it impacts NC State. Also, from your interface, you should be able to access the Q&A. So again, hover over the top right-hand corner of your screen, click on the grid, and then choose Q&A. The Q&A column will appear, which will allow you to submit questions. You can also vote on questions that you're interested in hearing answers to. Keep in mind it requires a little bit different functionality than most Q&A apps do. We cannot respond to you, so we cannot interact with your questions or submit answers to your questions through this tool. We can only see and view the questions that are submitted to us. So we will address any questions that are submitted at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's start off by talking about what cybersecurity is and how it impacts us and what it should mean to an end user. So a formal explanation and definition of cybersecurity is the protection of computers, networks, programs, and data from unintended or unauthorized access, change, or destruction. In layman's terms, basically, it's protecting your online self. I really enjoy this quote from Adam Vincent. He is the CTO at Layer 7 Technologies. It's a little lengthy, but I'll mention a few points throughout the quote. Adam says, the threat is advancing quicker than we can keep up with. The threat changes faster than our idea of the risk. It's no longer possible to write a large white paper. You would be rewriting the paper constantly because there's always new threats. There's new risks. There's new issues that we're facing on a regular basis, and it's so difficult to keep up with them and know what's coming. So that's why it's so important for users to be aware of these cybersecurity issues and threats and increase your own IQ and knowledge of what to expect and what to be aware of. So why it's important is to better protect yourself against threats. Be aware of phishing attacks. We're going to talk about phishing and what some phishing emails might look like. Making sure to secure your online identity and protecting your personal data and preventing identity theft. Okay, so let's go ahead and find out what your cybersecurity IQ is and how many answers to these questions that you already know. There are 10 questions in case you are writing down answers as we go along. Otherwise, just feel free to play along and make your guess at what the answers are. Question number 1. Of the passwords below, which is the most secure? So you have 4 different possibilities. So go ahead and make your guess. And the answer is D. So answer D is most secure because of the length. And I know this is a little bit different than what most of us are familiar with. A lot of users have been told as long as your password contains a variety of letters, numbers, special characters, and you should be fine. However, the newer feedback and information that we're getting from our security professionals and experts is all about the length. So the longer your password, the better. We also encourage creating passphrases. They're easy for you to remember and more difficult for other people to guess. So that's why we have option D as the most secure from this list. It still has a variety of letters and numbers and special characters, but it's the length that makes it the best option. A few other tips when it comes to creating strong passwords and how they differ from weaker passwords. Again, the passphrase option that I just spoke about. A lot of people use song lyrics or titles, movie titles, a line from a poem, a phrase that they use regularly. Again, something that will be easy for you to remember and difficult for someone else to guess, with the variety of special characters, numbers, and letters. It's also best to try to create a unique password for every account that you have. That way, if a hacker were to compromise your account and figure out what your password is, they wouldn't be able to log in to other accounts. So that's why it's especially important to have unique passwords for each account. At least separate your passwords and use different passwords for work accounts and personal accounts, so there's no crossover. Here are some common weaknesses that we see in account passwords. Again, they're shorter, so less than 12 characters. They're using simple and common passwords, common number sequences, personal identifying information, and again, using the same password for all accounts. So stay away from everything on the right-hand column if at all possible. Most common passwords for 2015. I enjoy this graphic because it makes you understand what some of the common passwords are, what some of the passwords are that you should stay away from using. The sad thing is that I've been sharing this information for several years, and the top 10 rarely change. They might change in rank, but they still seem to be on the list year after year. So hopefully, as you look through this list, you are not using one of these as a password for your accounts. If you are, please make sure to change that as soon as possible and follow the guidelines that we just spoke about on the previous slide. But again, just an interesting reference to see what the common passwords are and to know what to stay away from using. As far as keeping your passwords safe and secure and knowing where to store them, first of all, make sure not to share your passwords. Keep them to yourself. There's no reason anyone should have your password. Also, the NC State Help Desk should never ask you for your password. So you shouldn't need to share that with anyone on campus. The help desk, your supervisor, your coworker, best friend, roommate, cat, dog, really, they should stay private, and you should keep those secret. I have a note here, just say no to Post-its. I visit faculty and staff all over campus, and so I have an insight into where a lot of users choose to keep or reference their account passwords. And Post-its seem to be very common and frequently used around campus, and not just here, but other offices and other institutions as well that I've worked at in other jobs. The most common place that I see passwords is, again, on that Post-it, but on the monitor. I'm sure some of you may have seen that as well, or possibly use that system to remember what your passwords are. That is a very common place, again, for passwords to be, and I know users think, oh, well, it's just a jumble of letters and numbers, no one's going to know what that means. Unfortunately, people do, and so if they have your Unity, they will be able to log in to your account. So please make sure you do not put that Post-it on your monitor with your password. The second most common place I see passwords stored, again, on a Post-it note, but this time under the keyboard. Again, it's very convenient for the user to find, but it's also easy for other people as well. So the bad guys know where to look, and just because it's not in sight doesn't mean they're not going to find it by lifting up your keyboard. So please avoid putting your passwords underneath your keyboard. And the third most common place I see passwords stored is, again, on that Post-it, but in the top drawer of your desk that's unlocked. Again, another popular place for data and account information to be kept. So please, if you're going to write it down, make sure it's in a secure location. Lock those drawers, lock those cabinets. We advise that you do not write them down if at all possible, and even use a password manager. This is a very easy tool that you can use. You can download it even on your mobile device. You can store all of your passwords in that password manager app or on the website, or you can also configure the tool to generate new and secure passwords for you every time you log in to a website or to your account. So there's a few different ways that you can use that password manager. Most are, well, some are free depending on what level of service you want to use. KeyPass and LastPass are pretty popular for users on campus to utilize. So there's several out there. Definitely do your research and find what works best for you. Okay, moving on to question number 2. Approximately 2% of NC State user accounts are compromised at any given time. True or false? The answer is true. Unfortunately, there are about 2% of university accounts compromised at any time. We've actually seen an uptick in compromised accounts over the past year or two, and this happens because their passwords are hacked or because they've fallen for a phishing attack. A few signs that your account could be compromised. You may see some suspicious activity or emails showing up in your account. Maybe sent mail that you haven't composed. You can also check your Gmail recent activity and details just on a regular basis to make sure that there hasn't been anyone from outside of the country, especially, logging into your account that you're unaware of. So when you go out to your email, scroll down to the bottom, click on the details link. It will open up another window for you, and you can simply scroll through and see the location of where your account has been accessed. So you're definitely looking for the state that you're in. Again, if you see any unusual activity, definitely would be a good idea to contact the help desk and change your password immediately. You may see states that you're not currently in if you are accessing your email or your accounts from a mobile device. Sometimes the location of the provider, of the mobile provider, may show up instead of where your physical location is. I use AT&T, and so on occasion I may see Georgia show up in the IP address column, and that is okay. I know they're based in Atlanta, and so that shouldn't be an issue. But again, if you see something outside of the US especially that just looks odd, it might be a good time to contact the help desk or change your password. And I just gave you the final bullet here. Again, if you have any issues or questions about your account possibly being compromised, the help desk is always available to assist you, and it's good best practice to go ahead and change your password. So what can they do? They being the bad guys, the hackers who have compromised your account possibly, or who can access your credentials and log in to your email. They can do anything you can do. So the bad guys can read and delete emails. They can access your files and documents in your Google Drive account. They can access your contacts and conduct spear phishing attacks where they pretend to be you and contact everyone in your contact list. And again, they're trying to get personal information from people that you know. So definitely something to be aware of. They can also piggyback into other accounts. They can scroll through your email. They can see what other notifications you have coming from other companies, banks, anything else that you may have personal information saved in. And then they can use your credentials and log in to those accounts as well. They can also access your MyPack portal. In a recent incident that happened to another local university, probably a year or two ago, a particular user's account was compromised, and the hacker used their credentials to log into their equivalent of NC State's MyPack portal. And the bad guys changed the direct deposit bank information to route to their own account. So the individual lost out on a paycheck. And so it took a while before they realized what was going on. So that's just one example of how the bad guys can not only get into your email to see your messages, but they can also access other accounts and other personal information that you may have out there. NC State does not allow online changing of your direct deposit information anymore, so that has been protected. But again, just something to keep in mind, another reason to make sure that you take all security measures when it comes to protecting yourself online. All right, moving on to question 3. The following screenshot is an example of phishing. True or false? And I know it may be difficult for you to see, but let's take a closer look. For this particular example, the answer is true. This is an example of phishing. And let's see if you can spot the reason this is an actual phishing attack. So let's go in a little closer. And it's in the URL. So you're looking at a screenshot of the login page for Google, and it looks real to me. Looks just like every other landing page I see to log into my Google account. But again, if you take a closer look and examine that URL, you'll see that there's a 0 in Google. It's also a very short URL. So Google does not use a 0 in their URL. This is actually an example of the real URL if you're trying to go to Google's login page, and you see how long it is. Some people may mistake this for possibly being a scam, but this is the legit URL in order to log in to Google accounts. So it's good to be aware and familiar with the websites that you're logging into. If you do receive a phishing email or an email that's asking you to click here to open up another website to enter in or validate your personal information or your account information, take a closer look. We actually encourage that you open a new tab or a new browser or a new window and manually type in the website that you need to go to or that it's asking you to go to make sure it's taking you to the correct location. So a little bit more about phishing attacks. Oldest trick in the hacker's book. So they're trying to get your personal information. They're trying to get your passwords, your financial information, your social security number. And they may appear to come from a legitimate organization. But they're actually spoofed emails. They can also come in the form of phone calls and text. They typically have some sense of urgency behind them. So threatening your account will be deactivated or disabled, or you're going to lose access to certain information. But again, any legitimate organization should not be asking you to submit sensitive information over email. So if you have a question about it, call the help desk, call the customer service department for that company. A few other tips for how to avoid falling for a phishing attack. Again, avoid sending sensitive information in email. Verify those links before clicking, even from people you know. They could be a victim of spear phishing too. Someone may have gotten into their account, been able to access your email, and sending as your friend or as the person that you know. Also, mark suspicious emails as phishing in Gmail. There's a way that you can go into your inbox. I'll go ahead and open this up. And if you click on an event or an email, and within the More menu, there's an option to report phishing. And Google will track these reports and typically be able to notify or put a banner or a warning message on that email to prevent other people from falling for the phishing scam or thinking that it is a legit email. So Google does a good job at trying to collect information and warn other account holders if there are concerns regarding emails. We did talk about manually typing in the web address instead of clicking on links to go to different websites. And of course, at any time, if you have questions or concerns, the help desk is always here to help you and assist. Okay, moving on to question 4. Antivirus software blocks 100% of viruses on your computer. True or false? The answer is false. Many users think that they can just install antivirus and go about their business as normal, but that's not always the case because new viruses are released constantly and antivirus packages just can't keep up with the new threats. So that's why it's very important to run updates to your antivirus software on a regular basis. We actually recommend auto update, so setting it to update at a regular day and time, so it's doing that constantly to keep up to date. Also, it's important to only install one antivirus program. If you do have multiple programs installed at the same time, it can cause some other issues on your computer, so please make sure you have the previous software uninstalled before you install a new program. NC State does offer free antivirus through Kaspersky. It is available through the antivirus and software websites that we manage here, and it can also be installed on multiple machines. And again, it is free. So if you are working on different machines from your home or other places where you need to connect to the network, you can definitely install Kaspersky at no cost. But again, regardless of what antivirus program you choose, just make sure it's updated regularly. Question 5 is about Google's two-step verification. So we're asking if you know what this is. So we have a few options here: a virtual dance, extra layer of protection for your account, a new video game, or a newly identified computer virus? And the answer is B, an extra layer of protection for your account. Twostep provides an extra layer of security to your Google account by requiring something you know. So not only do you have to log in using your Unity ID as your username, but also your password and a unique code that only you will have. There are several different ways users can request codes, and we highly recommend that you set up as many of these as possible. I have most of them configured on my account. But you can receive codes through a voice call or a text message. You can also access codes via a free mobile app through Google Authenticator. And this is really nice because you don't need cell service or internet connection. So if you're in a building that doesn't have good service or access to wireless, you can easily use your Google Authenticator to get that code. You can also print backup codes. So you can print these out, fold them up, keep them with you in your wallet or with your ID or with something that you know you're going to have on you at all times in case you forget your phone, in case you're not at your desk or at home to receive that phone call. Definitely a good option to follow. There are also code generating devices available that don't require you to actually enter a code, but just verify your identity. One is a security key. It can just log or plug right into a USB drive or port into your computer, and again will verify that you are who you're trying to log in as. You can also use Google Prompt, which is new, a new option to Google Twostep, and it doesn't require you to use a code to log in. It just prompts you with the request letting you know that someone is trying to log in into your account, and you have to say, okay, that was me, and you can go ahead and log back in. So there are several different options that you can choose from. Again, we recommend setting up as many of these as possible. So a few other pieces of information when it comes to Twostep. This process will verify that you own the account. Again, you're the only one who can verify the login. So if someone else is trying to log into your account, they will not get that code, so they will be blocked in trying to access your account. You can also save devices for 30 days. So if you're going to be logging into your computer over the next month, if it's not a public machine, it's something that you're using on a regular basis, you can definitely save that device so you won't have to enter your code every single time you try to log in. But if you are logging into accounts from a public computer, please avoid saving those devices. Question number 6, true or false? Gmail Security Checklist provides tips and tools to help prevent unauthorized access to your account. True or false? The answer is true. A lot of users are not familiar with the Gmail Security Checklist, so I definitely wanted to make sure I brought it to your attention. It's a great resource that walks you through several tips that you can follow to make sure your account is as secure as possible. So when you click on the link, it will take you to the checklist, and you'll see what a few of the recommendations are, and you can follow along. But if this is something that you haven't done, please take a few minutes to walk through some of these tips and make sure your account is as secure as possible. A few topics that it does cover: making sure you have a strong password. It will provide you with recent activity for your account. It takes you through how to configure Twostep and avoid scams. We're moving on to question number 7. Hopefully you've been able to get all of the questions and answers correct as we're walking through. We're down to our last 3 questions. Number 7 has to do with data sensitivity framework at NC State. So should DSF be used by A, students, B, staff who work with sensitive data, C, faculty, and D, all NC State affiliates? The answer is D. All NC State affiliates should use Data Sensitivity Framework. We also reference this as DSF, so I'll probably refer to Data Sensitivity Framework as DSF through the rest of the slide. But it does provide a standard and some guidelines for handling sensitive data. It also encompasses laws and regulations across all colleges and departments. It reduces risk of exposing sensitive information, including financial fines and our reputation. It also increases awareness for campus users, particularly for use of the cloud and personal mobile devices. So if you are someone who regularly handles or deals with personal information for students, faculty, or staff, or just in general, please reference the Data Framework site. It will give you specific details and guidelines regarding storage and safe handling of different levels of data. I do have a screenshot for you from the website. You see that the data is divided into different sensitivity levels by color. So it makes it pretty easy to understand and follow and determine what your color code is or your sensitivity level is for the data that you're working with. And then it will also provide you with appropriate storage locations for those levels depending on the color. If you have any questions about DSF, please don't hesitate to contact the help desk. Our folks over in Security and Compliance will be glad to assist you. Question number 8 has to do with user identification authentication questions. So should these be A, hard to remember, B, contain answers that don't frequently change, C, contain personally identifying information, or D, be easy for the help desk staff to find on the internet so they can assist you? And the answer is B. So UIA questions should contain answers that don't frequently change. UIA questions are basically required for resetting your password and getting assistance resetting your password over the phone here at the university. So you must create these questions in advance via the UIA website. So this link will take you there. And in order for us to help you over the phone, again, you must have these questions entered and you must answer them correctly. If you do not have UIA questions available, in order to get any assistance with resetting your password, you must prove your identity. So you'll either have to go over to the West Dunn building over in the Walk-In Center with your ID, or you'll have to fax a copy of your ID over to the help desk so they can verify that you are the account holder, and so they can then help you reset your password and gain access back to your account. So take the time, if you haven't already, to go out to the UIA website and set up these questions. It's a very simple process and will help you down the road. We do offer some suggestions for creating secure questions and preventing other people from pretending to be you. First of all, make sure that they're easy for you to remember and difficult for others to guess. Use questions with answers that don't change frequently and can't be easily found. So a few examples might be avoiding information that's easily found on social media. So maybe you have a Facebook account and you have your profile picture with your cat, and your cat's name is written on top of the profile picture. It's very easy for people to find. So avoid using those kinds of questions for UIA. Moving on to question 9. Computer screens, A, should be locked whenever the user is leaving their workstation. B, can be left on when grabbing a quick snack. C, should never be locked. Or D, answers B and C. Let's see what the answer is. The answer is A, should be locked whenever the user is leaving their workstation. And I know it might sound elementary. Most people are aware that they should lock their machines. However, it still happens. A user may have data on their monitor and need a quick break or need to grab a quick sip of water. So they leave their station, they go down the hall for what should be a quick minute, but in their walk to the water fountain, they run into someone and end up having a lengthy conversation. So that data is exposed on their screen for a long period of time, and that is a security risk. So make sure anytime you leave your computer that you enable a screensaver or you lock your screen. You can also do this with your mobile devices. It's interesting to me how many people do not have a simple lock or password for their cell phone. I know users like convenience, and a lot of people have apps installed that will directly connect them to their bank account or to pay bills or to other sensitive information or account data already loaded on their mobile device so they can easily access. So if your phone were to get into the wrong hands, a stranger would also be able to log in and have access to all of that personal information. It's very simple to configure a screen lock or a code lock on your mobile device. And again, it takes just a second or two to unlock it and will prevent other people from accessing your information. We also have some themes that we share with campus when we're talking about mobile device security. Update, lock, defend, verify, and save. All good advice and quick themes when it comes to protecting your device and your information. So update refers to making sure that you update security patches and install upgrades on a regular basis. Lock refers to having a pattern lock or a code lock or a password configured and enabled on your device. Defend by installing antivirus and malware protection. Verify, making sure that you're familiar with apps and that they are coming from a reputable source. You can also check reviews and what permissions they're needing and they're requesting before you install them. And always, not only for your mobile device, but also for any important data and documents that you access regularly, make sure you have some kind of a backup solution for those documents and for your important files. The last thing we want is for you to lose your machine or have your computer crash and all of that hard work is gone. So make sure to have some kind of backup solution, especially that we're here at NC State. You have Google Drive, so you can save everything to the cloud if you want to. Definitely something to keep in mind, but as long as you'll use it on a regular basis, that is what is really important. And also we offer regularly scheduled lunch and learn workshops throughout the year for mobile device tips, whether you have an iOS device or an Android device. So keep a watch out there on our schedule and see what we have coming up. All right, we are making it to the end. Question 10. Fill in the blank. NC State should never blank in an email. A, ask for your social security number. B, ask for your password. C, include a link. Or D, A, and B. And the answer is D, A, and B. So NC State should never ask for your social, and they should never ask for a password in email. So just a few key pieces here. We've already talked about a lot of this already, but to wrap up the theme for the day, make sure to never email sensitive data and be leery of messages that are asking you for personal information. So again, your password, social security number, financial, credit card information. Any legitimate organization should never ask for this type of information, especially over email. And make sure to call the help desk or the customer service department to verify if an email is legit. All right, so we have come to the end of our quiz. Are you cyber savvy? Were you able to get all of the answers correct? Hopefully everyone got 100%. I'm sure you did. If you did not, hopefully you learned something new and you'll be able to share some of this information with your colleagues and your family and other people who can benefit. Let me look to Louise and see if we have any questions. And it doesn't look like we have any questions in the queue. But again, feel free to contact the training team or the help desk if you do have any questions about how to stay safe online and protect yourself and your identity. You can also access the slides by visiting go.ncsu.edu/IQ-HOA if you would like to reference this presentation after we conclude. We definitely want you to stay connected. Subscribe to OIT News if you haven't already. We are highlighting cybersecurity and phishing topics right now because that is such a hot topic on campus, and we want to inform and educate the university as much as possible. You can also follow us on Twitter. We have an OIT general technology account. We also have a Google-specific Twitter account that you can follow. Again, if you haven't circled up with us on Google+, I definitely encourage you to do so. We are trying to push as much information as possible when it comes to Google out to campus, tips and tricks and new functionality, events and other information that may be beneficial to campus. So definitely follow us there. And of course, Classmate, which provides up-to-date workshops and event schedules. Speaking of workshops, we do have a full month planned in August. So you can see the list of workshops that we have on the schedule. We hope that you will join us for one of these events. Not only Google, but other technology and mobile device security workshops are also planned for next month. We should be rolling out the fall schedule in the next week or two. So keep your eyes out on Classmate. And check back regularly to see what we have planned for the fall. Otherwise, we want to thank you for your time this afternoon. Thanks for joining us to learn a little bit more about how you can stay safe online and protect your cyber self. Feel free to contact us if there's any additional information we can provide. And we wish you a great afternoon and a wonderful week.